Yo, let's get to the boxing real quick. Couple things happened on ESPN last night.
Yeah.
Shout out to the kid Mason, Abdullah Mason. Like the dude is all the way legit.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with somebody just the other day, and I'm seeing him do this, and somebody said, "Yo, eventually he might end up like this." I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I don't think
Anytime
so.
soon.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'll go ahead and say it. Well, let's talk about it. They said because of their dad. I respect you. You never left your dad, but I think you would have been better if you had moved on past your dad before you brought in Barry. And it was like, when you brought in Barry, we really saw a change in your fighting style and how you came to the ring. I said, you know what? To be honest with you, my dad has always been super aggressive. That's his mentality. That's who he is as a person. So that's what he gave me. And that's what we use to fight and to win. We used aggression. I said, but when Barry came in and Barry added this like tactical approach to it, he kind of like connected me back to football. I had never seen somebody come to the gym with a pad and go through like some notes. And it was like when I saw it, I was like, it reminded me of football, and it kind of like let me know, like, you can't run on everybody, you can't pass on everybody, you can't stop and go on everybody. You got to use everything. And it kind of like he opened my mind to those things. But when it comes to Abdullah Mason, I look at somebody like Terrence Crawford and Bomac. He's been with Bomac the entirety of his career. Bomac has grown as a coach. He's grown as a fighter, and together they've continued to do this. And I really didn't agree with him saying what he said. However, I did have to look at it. If this kid does like start to plateau, what will that look like? I don't see it happening. What about y'all?
Yeah, it'd be tough for me to see it happening. And one thing about a dad's son, Sean, I definitely agree bringing somebody else in for an extra set of eyes. Because as a parent, we get to a point where we just stop listening to our dad. Like, man, you've been saying this since I was 6 years old. So sometimes
point too.
Yeah, you need fresh ears, but at the same time, your father know how far he can push you. Your father know when you got more. Your father knows different things about you that nobody else will ever get out of you. And I remember I told you one time, I'm like, bro, don't ever leave your dad. Like this is y'all got the perfect combination. So bringing in a fresh set of eyes, yes, but at the same time, I definitely agree keeping your dad in the corner at all times.
Thanks for saying that, because that was his point too. He was like, at some point that voice gets kind of stale, and you don't want to listen to it. And again, I've been saying this for a long time. One of the life lessons that my dad taught me is that boxing is just like life. And here we are. It could be your coach, it could be your dad, it don't matter. But if you're hearing that same voice all the time, it might be good to get something new set of eyes, new voice, something like that to kind of shake things up.
Abdullah Mason plateauing, I don't see it. I don't know. The person has eyes that I've never seen in the sport of boxing. He got eyes different because what I'm seeing from Abdullah Mason right now is just trajectory going up.
Yeah. I misrepresented him, so I'm glad I didn't say his name, but I did misrepresent him. He said he could plateau because of
the father
not having that another voice and things of that
nature.
Yeah.
I think he is the best prospect in boxing right now. I think he's the most sure thing out of anybody around that age group in the prospect stages. I think he's the one you could place your chips on and you're going to be all right. You're going to be good. One of the ways I could see him plateauing, and I don't see it happening, is although inevitably there's going to be a night, even with the brightest of prospects, the best of talents, where you look a little ordinary. Like everyone's due for that at some point. Like Floyd with Castillo, even Floyd in that era period against guys like Carlos Hernandez and Chavez, he was still racking up the wins. But they gave him some resistance, right? Mm-hmm. And then he went back to just shutouts and stoppages. I think one way he could plateau is the kid's got such a full arsenal and tool set. He could fall in love with a couple of tools too much and not bring out everything. And maybe a couple fights could wind up being harder than they need to. if, for example, he starts falling in love with knockouts and doesn't use his length and his jab in addition to the heavy artillery and all that other than that. And then we talked about it on the show before. He's got a great family dynamic. This is not some family trying to ride the coattails of a breadwinner or something like that. All his brothers box and are good fighters, and the dad is extremely humble. They're all about their faith. And I think if there was ever a situation where Abdullah's father, recognized they needed a Barry Hunter, they needed an outside voice, I don't think he's not the type that strikes me as having too big an ego to cross that bridge if it's what's best for his son. So
I see that too. All that being said, hope to have him on the podcast next week. And we can kind of get into some of that with him. But another big knockout win for him, and just continuing. He's definitely the best prospect we have. And this is when you said that, Zittel, this is what came to my mind. We had Boots Ennis, and then I think there's a space, and then it's Mason Abdullah. I don't think that there was Boots Ennis and then this prospect, this guy that matched this level. I think that Mason at this point in his career being a prospect, he matches the level of a Boots Ennis, not quite mature and physically mature and all those things, but I feel like he matches that same level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, some guys with power can be a little rough around the edges, developing the skill set, and then vice versa. Some guys with a deep bag of a skill set don't necessarily have the power, and he's kind of showing us everything right now. And what you guys think of? I remember in my little, before, in my apprehensive, hesitant boxing career in the amateurs, Coach Pat Barry would always say, you got to flow from one shot to the other when you're putting combinations together. And I thought he did that beautifully. Straight left hand of the body, tightens up. He knows the distance just cut, tightens up right hook, and then a little pull to get a little more power, and bang, left uppercut, knockout or knockdown in that first round. What'd you guys think of that?
We got a lot of guys that can flow like that too. But 100%, the way we work on it on the bag, we want it to look as seamless in the ring, and it just don't look that, it's not the same. The bag doesn't hit back, the bag may swing a different way. You know what I mean? When you got the opponent, you throw the first punch and it landed, and you take that small step, but he steps the opposite way. Now you gotta, make up that distance and then catch it and all these other things. I mean, just it's smooth, you know what I mean? And I think that that's why he's really catching our attention, is because not only is he fast, dynamic, strong, but he's super, super smooth with it as well.
Man, I want to take it back a couple of weeks. What was this at the Terrence Crawford undercard fight? Man, we seen the Vargas get into it with Keyshawn Davis.
Oh yeah,
man, how do y'all see that fight going? I'm gonna go with the real Sean. I'm going with the real Zittel. Okay, how do you see that fight going down the road, Zittel? Because I was like, that could be interesting. That's two different styles. I wonder if one guy got more of in his bag than the other. Zittel, you probably know what I'm talking about. How do you see that fight going? Because I was like, this is something I actually want to see down the road. These two guys get into it.
Well, two different junctures of their career. Keyshawn's basically becoming a grown man right now in his mid-20s. I don't know if Emiliano's even 20 yet. So they're on two different.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, they're just on two different timelines. But I do kind of happy you asked, because there is a scouting report I have on Emiliano a little bit. And it's that this kid is so talented, so fast. Actually, Emiliano Vargas is so fast with his hand speed. When I watched him and Abdullah fight back-to-back at T-Mobile last year on the Shakur de los Santos undercard, yes, I came away saying Abdullah's a better prospect, even though I like Emiliano too. But I said Emiliano might have more raw, pure speed than Abdullah. And here's the one issue with me with Emiliano, and I think he's super talented, super marketable, is I notice in the years of me studying him in the gyms, when he gets touched, all of a sudden he lets go of all his tricks, all his bag, and he'll start, once the other guy starts landing, he'll start to go back to a more fundamental, basic style. And I don't think that serves him well. I think I think, it's easier said than done, but just because the other guy starts touching you doesn't mean you got to pick the gloves up now and get away from all the different things you're capable of. And so, I think Emiliano, the way you can matchmake a fighter in the 4-belt era, he's going to cruise to an undefeated record, and Top Rank's going to get him to a title. But if he can't get more comfortable with resistance when other guys start landing on him and still explore all his options offensively and all that, then he's putting a cap on his talent because he's very talented.
Yeah, because down the road, we got some good fights at 135?
Yeah.
Abdullah Mason. What we got? We still got Frank Martin in there. We got
some amazing fights.
Yeah, Kid Austin. So yeah, it could be fun. It's down the road. Boxing's still in good hands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not at 147 because Shawn Porter retired. I say that all the time.